The Moved Entrepreneur Evolved Podcast. Get on it.
So whenever you're ready, Jason.
Well, Jason, Starbuck here, Starbuck on the moon. I'm on the moon. I can do that.
Okay.
Starbuck
Never
on
know.
the move. Sorry, we'll keep it going. Here with Dean Lister, champion of many things in life. I'm here at your gym now, and I had earlier that you guys were like, hey, let's, your girls downstairs were like, hey, he's upstairs.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to look around the gym. I'd never been here, and so it brought up in my mind. I was like, when did this start? When did you start this gym?
Yeah, well, we've been here since 2007, and it was basically right at the beginning of that crash, the housing crash. So having a giant gym like this was not the best time, but we made it through, and it's we've been out for about 12 years now, so it's going well here, actually.
Yeah, and so as I was walking around, a lot of people have like open gyms and they have all these different things. What was your guys' idea? Because you guys broke it off. Like everything seems to be broken off, kind of like the old LA Fitnesses. You have a racquetball gym or whatever, but it kind of has that effect. What was the thoughts on that?
Well, there's those small mom and pop gyms, which are cool, and you get some really great, even world level fighters coming out of these small gyms, and you have these giant gyms that no one knows each other's names, and we kind of want to be in the middle. So we have all the facilities. You have kickboxing, you have weight room, you have a CrossFit room, which is bigger than most CrossFit gyms, by the way. And we have 3 jiu-jitsu areas. We have 2 cages. I mean, it's just a crazy big environment, but it's meant to be in group classes, and of course there's cliques and groups, but it's a big gym, but people here know each other. It's more of a close environment here. It's kind of the middle of both
That's
worlds.
kind of how it felt, and it was like, I think that what I noticed when I was in there and walking around was like, when you kind of create incubators like that, people tend to kind of feel a little closer. When it's super big, you kind of kind of out of it.
Yeah, if it was one giant box here, it would be different, I think. So it helps to have, it's human nature. I think people want to, you're going to get your better friends, but you'll meet everyone in the long run. So it's good. We have our kickboxers, our boxers, our wrestlers. We have our jiu-jitsu people. We have our MMA fighters. We have yoga here. It's a good, inclusive environment. Yeah, it's good.
So this is an interesting question, I think, that I've talked with some people about, and that is, you've gone, from your story, you've done wrestling, you've done jiu-jitsu, you've done MMA, Pride as well, you've done the biggest organizations that are playing, or fighting and things. One of the things that and you just said, is like, we have jiu-jitsu, we have kickboxing. Do you think there's going to come a time when it's really just fighting?
Oh, you mean mixed martial arts?
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah,
because these arts, I mean, is it going to be useful, even though it's a hobby or it's your love of jiu-jitsu? Do you think that eventually it's going to mold?
It's maybe the fastest growing sport in the world still, mixed martial arts. I think it's going to keep growing in popularity, but there's always people that are going to prefer striking by itself. There's some people that prefer only jiu-jitsu. There's people that only want to train with the gi on. We call them pajama nerds, but that's an endearing term, by the way. There's people that just they want to specialize in one area. If you have someone who, we have, let's say, the triathlon. So the people, they run, they bike, and they swim. Okay, well, but Nick Diaz does that. Nick and Nate Diaz, they do that. They're incredible. They're great athletes. But not everyone's going to want to do be a triathlete. Some people want to be the sprinter. Some people long distance runner. Some people want to just bike, and some people want to just swim. And if you specialize in one area, you'll probably beat the triathlete in that one area, probably. But there's always people that are going to do all of them. I mean, who's going to beat Usain Bolt in sprinting right now? Yeah. But will Usain Bolt beat Phelps in the pool? I don't think so. But Phelps won't beat him in sprinting. But you have some guy out there that we don't know who the name. We don't know who he is. Who, if you put those events back to back, he'll come out number 1. There's someone we don't know who it is. There's someone that would not beat Phelps in the pool, and would not beat Bolt sprinting, but he'll finish number 1 if you put both those events back to back. So I think maybe if you look at mixed martial arts, it's the guys who are the best in mixed martial arts usually are not the number 1 jiu-jitsu guy, and they're not usually the number 1 kickboxer in the world. There's some melding of the two. So I think it's going to grow, but I think there's always going to be that niche.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it's like judo didn't go away. I mean, judo is still in areas that are super strong, and I think that it's something that continues to be on people's minds.
Absolutely,
it's like, wait a minute, what's going to happen here? Because the evolution's happened so fast. So I guess that opens up a question. When you got started, where did you grow up?
I've grown up all around the world. As an adult, I mean, I spent time all around the world. But as a kid, I grew up in South America, in Venezuela, and Panama, Central America, and mostly USA. We're moving around different parts of the Southwest USA primarily. But as an adult, I've lived all around the world, and so I've tried to expand my horizons. So I don't know where I am. I'm definitely from USA. Some people think I'm from Brazil. I'm not from Brazil. I don't speak like a Brazilian. I speak like, I don't know, a 6-year-old from Brazil, maybe. Get around. I make it work, hopefully.
Well, I think that's one of the things that probably gives you, because anytime that I've heard you talk, or even talking around here today, that you're a good storyteller.
Oh, hopefully. I don't know.
You are. You're a good storyteller. You tell a story, you go that route. So I was thinking, when you tell the story of when you were a kid and what made you get into jiu-jitsu, it's such a great story. I thought I'd maybe see if I can pull that out of you.
Well, okay, it goes deeper than this. I'll expand upon. I'm not pulling the victim thing at all. At all. But, I don't say but. I did live in Panama during the Panama invasion. And what happened was, the racial slur was Yankee. Even if you were a black guy, white guy, if you were from USA, you were a Yankee, and there was like gringo. It was worse than those were fighting words actually. Yeah. So I was not that big. I was very scrawny. I was a nerdy kid, real shy. But I had wrestled one year, and my dad's a Marine. I was not a pansy, let's say. So but growing up in Central America during this time, I was in 7th and 8th grade. So this is around the time where fights become more serious than 2nd grade or 1st grade. Those are whatever. And the kids in Panama, they were older. I mean, they had beards. I didn't have a beard when I was 13. I didn't have a beard. This didn't work out for me that way. So I'm not saying every day, but at least a couple of times a week, I would get into a relatively serious fight. At that time in my life, it was something where it was very important for me to learn how to defend myself. And I didn't miraculously learn some mystic art and become some master of anything. Nothing like that ever happened. But it always was in my brain that, during the little invasion, a lot of people died in that, so a little invasion, I'm just comparing to Iraq or something. It was, let's say, the first day was nonstop gunfire and explosions all around my house, by the way. Paratroopers landed in my backyard, and it was crazy. There were bullet holes in my house. Whatever. We were just on the ground for a couple of days. That's all. But it was freaky. And they shut the water off. We didn't have water. And by the way, USA lost 18 people. One of my teachers from my junior high got killed also. Wow. So a couple of civilians died. Panama lost a couple of thousand people. So, I'm not saying they were right, but I understand why they didn't like me. There's a reason. We were the invaders, and it's unfortunate. But that time in my life, I think it cemented my desire to want to defend myself, and because I'm used to having like the water shut off and bomb threats and stuff, like I always want to have like it's in me all of a reserve of food, all of a reserve of water, just in this day. I'm just used to stuff like that happening. So that's probably what gave me the motivation, to learn how to fight to some degree. And when I got into wrestling, when I was 16, about, let's say in high school, I went through a growth spurt. I got real big real fast, like too fast where I was uncoordinated. And until I was 19, I got my coordination back. So as a wrestler, I was not that coordinated until I graduated high school. And then it just all came to me right around the time I started jiu-jitsu, just by coincidence.
Yeah. And that was, what year was that?
I graduated in 94, and so I started jiu-jitsu, but open mat in 94. But I remember I signed for classes December of 95. So I've been doing this maybe since 94, I guess you could say.
And the option was gi.
Yeah, it was all gi. Yeah.
So you spent all that time in the pajama.
Yeah, pajamas. Yeah, of course. That's a endearing joke.
It is.
For a while, my coach Fabio Santos, who I still have a lot of respect for, he said you can do the no gi tournaments, but you have to wear a gi, and I would do that anyways. My opponent has a slight advantage. But they didn't know how to use the gi against me to any high degree anyway, so I would still win these tournaments. It wasn't a big deal. So I was really wrapped around the gi for a long time. That was my obsession for a long time. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. So as you started to evolve and started to find different areas, life takes you in different places. Okay, it's going to go here, it's going to go there. Was there a time where you were like, you know what, there's something else I want to do? Or was it always this direction?
I graduated college in the year 2000 from San Diego State University, and my dad, old retired Marine, he said, son, you just graduated college and you're doing this jiu-jitsu thing. He said, I think you should give it 2 more years, see if you can do it professionally, and if not, why don't you join the Marine Corps? And I was like, okay, do something, he said. I think he wanted me to go in the military. Oh, of course he did. So I was thinking about that, and I gave it right about 3 years, actually. So I was pushing it. And it just so happened, right around, I won Abu Dhabi, the absolute. And so of all weights, on paper, I was the best in the world. I'm not saying I was, just on paper I was. But just because of that, all of a sudden, my gym here in San Diego, it was a different gym back then. I would have 80 guys on the mat, just overnight, 80 guys, 80 people training with me. It went from 20 to 80 all of a sudden, per day, training with me. And my dad said, hey, son, I think you got this jiu-jitsu thing, I think it's going to work for you. So kind of off his advice, I focused now, onto the sport. And I'm very fortunate to be one of the few people in the world, let's say one of the few percent of people in the world that, let's say I have something that maybe I can do decent, but I love doing it. So I'm very gifted in that way. Yeah. So I have found that.
That's cool. So it's on YouTube and different areas, we tend to find that you hang out with a pretty, what you'd consider tough crowd. Not tough crowd isn't a negative thing, but I think mentally tough. I think some of the people that you, like Jocko and those guys that are now getting more popular, what is your mindset of a champion? And it sounds like you've kind of started to explore more about the mindset and things like that. So I'd be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, as I got older, I realized, and further I've been even more blessed. I've got guys like Jocko. I always knew there's something crazy weird about that guy. I always knew. Because he's one of the only guys that would spend 7 hours on the mat with me on Saturday. It's just not a normal person. And he always had great advice. And the stuff he writes about, he would give me the same advice. The good stories. He's given those speeches to me before anyone really knew who he was. He's been in my corner in UFC, in Pride. He flew to Japan. He's my real bro. And it's funny, right before one of my fights, I think it was Jordan Radev from Bulgaria in the UFC. I believe it was him. Yeah, it was him. We're in Las Vegas, and it's right before I'm going to fight him, and Jocko says, hey, Dean, you look like you're not very relaxed. What's going on? And I went, well, first of all, Jordan Radev, he's a very, very good wrestler, like an Olympic high-level wrestler. And he's compact. He's not a very tall guy, but he has strong, hard punches. He's hard to take down, and he's a tough guy. And I said, hey, well, Jocko, the guy, he has good knees, and I'm thinking like when I grab him, he's gonna throw a knee to my face. And I said, but it's okay. And he goes, no, well, Dean, check it out. Back in Iraq, and right when he said that, I'm like, oh, goddamn, like, come on. You're gonna put. He went, every time we go on a mission, we know where we're going. Like, we know where we're going. We know. But sometimes you hit an IED and you get blown up. And I was like, okay. His basic lesson was, you know what you're gonna do. Don't worry about all this little stuff getting blown up, right? He said, you're going there to do your job, so don't worry about that stuff. You're going to grab the guy. And I said, well, yeah, I will. And so it's interesting that kind of those hard knocks stories. That's some real experience that, I don't have that experience personally. Yeah. But it's interesting when someone puts it from that perspective and they can relate it to, I don't want to say UFC's normal life, but everyone has things in life where you think maybe you doubt yourself, or you think, what if this happens, what if that happens, and it's kind of cool to narrow it down to something that's more simple to deal with. So that was one quick Jocko story, but yeah, Jocko's doing great right now, and he's been a huge influence in my life. So yeah, I have 1,000 more stories like that. Yeah.
So I had gotten one that I had seen on, and it probably was, I didn't see the year or anything like that, but one of the things that in martial arts is like you have people that come in, they train. There's a big difference between people that train martial arts or train fighting, and then they're confronted with a real self-defense issue. Yeah. And I see when I go to jiu-jitsu schools, one thing that I always like to hear is like, hey, you know what? Don't get yourself in a mindset that I'm just grabbing your lapel or your gi. You're now in a position that you could get hit, and to not forget that. There is a story that you had. But I was curious about the mental side, not so much of that, where you had a time where you'd walked inside your house and someone was in your house. And what I was curious about is, training all the time, probably you would be like people would say, oh, you're normal, you can be fine. But it's still, what the heck? Someone's in my house. So I was kind of curious of what your mindset was, because you're pretty calm in the video. But
yeah, I guess I was calm, but it's weird. You walk in and I thought the guy was working on the complex. I didn't really realize he was in his underwear. It looks like a fake video actually. The guy's just on whatever drug, and I don't know. I walked in and it just didn't seem right. I started recording just because nowadays, I don't know what's going to happen. He raised a hammer at me, and I was armed,
sure.
And I showed him, and unfortunately I stopped recording at that moment. But I didn't. He dropped the hammer, so I didn't feel I had to go further than that. But yeah, I wasn't as afraid as people would think. It's just a bizarre looking person, in my opinion. And I don't know, in my life I've also learned from jiu-jitsu, you have to be, if you freak out in a bad situation, you just make it worse. And so especially if people have, let's say, an anger problem or a temper, that's not going to get you out of the position at all. So I think that jiu-jitsu and other martial arts help you to relax and calm down. And yeah, I don't want to have been hit in the head with a hammer, sure. but I think the guy didn't swing on me that fast, probably because I was calm. I don't know. I think I didn't. By the way, he was cornered. He couldn't leave at the moment, so yeah. That's probably why. But I don't know. I'm glad it didn't get worse than that. I think that if I didn't have any level of training, I would have been in more fear for my life. And then probably the person would have been, I don't know, hurt more or something like that. So yeah, jiu-jitsu and other martial arts, I think they can help you to control the level of force you need. And I even have friends that have trained that are in law enforcement. And if they know what they're doing, they don't have to hurt the guy that much. I'm just saying, if you know what you're doing or you have some measurement of knowing what you're doing, it gives you a big advantage, I think. And it makes you calm down. You can see a lot more things. And if in 2003 in Brazil, I don't know why, but I had a big interview, and the centerfold of the magazine, it had me with my opponent, Saulo Ribeiro in this case, and it says in Portuguese, na minha vida eu já tinha 60, 70, 80 or 100 horas dentro de triângulos. I was off by one or two words, but it said, because I did say this, I said, they asked me why I'm hard to submit with chokes, yeah. And I said, well, probably in my life I've spent, I don't know, 100 hours in triangle. I said, and that one phrase, for some reason, they copied it and they posted it. And so, yeah, if you spend 100 hours probably more, in a bad situation, you have to calm down, I think. By the way, it's funny, in Portuguese it said, o Império contra-ataque. It said, the Empire strikes back. So apparently we're the Empire, Yeah. So it was all Brazil won, Brazil, USA. It was just funny. So it said, the Empire strikes back, o Império contra-ataque. Yeah, they said the Empire strikes back, and that was the headline. And then it said, in my life I spent 70, 80, or 100 hours in triangles. And so yeah, the cliche is the best defense is a great offense. It makes sense on paper, because if I'm just attacking you all the time, you can't attack me. But it doesn't work out that way. You will be attacked. So I prefer to focus on defense, because if I'm so calm and I know that you can't hurt me, mm-hmm. I'll be attacking you all the time. Yeah. So in that situation, I was in a defensive. Sure. I don't know. It was a strange situation. Sure. I wasn't attacking him, but if he was to do something, I had maybe a response to him. So yeah, that was a real sketchy situation, and I hope that guy gets the help that he needs.
And that was the attitude that I got kind of after I watched it. I got a mental state from you that there was almost this compassion that came over. I mean, yeah. After obviously the scenario, but that's what it came across, and I think that's probably also just being a coach.
Yeah, I don't know.
Being a teacher and.
Well, I have one friend, and fortunately, I think maybe, afterwards I did make the comparison, but I have one lifelong friend that went down a really bad path, similar to that guy, and I don't know, maybe I could see something in that guy similar, mm-hmm. And he's a human, and he has family, he has. I didn't think all this at that moment, I don't think, but it reminded me of someone I know. And so if he had hit me with that hammer, I don't know what I would have done. But because I just had shoulder surgery too, so I couldn't fight that well. So I was like this, my shoulder. Yeah. Matter of fact, in the interview with Jocko, I'm like this the whole time because my shoulder just got operated on. So I don't know. I just hope he gets the help he needs, and he reclaims his life. I hope.
Cool. So going back on the things that you've done, accomplishments, what was the number one accomplishment that you felt that you had trained so hard, and this is where you got there? And maybe, obviously, don't quit. You changed paths. But where'd you feel like, I've made it? What was that?
I've had people say, Lister, the number one accomplishment is your ex-wife. But that's messed up. Brazil, bro. Come on. No, it's got to be my time in Brazil when I won Abu Dhabi, because that was when I was nationally ranked in USA. It's not that's no small feat, but I was not ranked top whatever in the world at all. I was probably ranked top 200 in the world or something, and then I became, let's say on paper, I was number one in the world. So for 4 years. I'm not saying I was, because another day, by the way, those same individuals I won, or the same people I lost to a different day, it could be a different result. I know that for sure. It's not a science, it's an art. And a science, let's say 2 + 2 is 4. I could replicate that in Australia. Anywhere I go. Africa, 2 + 2 is 4 to my knowledge. I've never been to Africa yet. But anywhere you go, that's a science that can be replicated. Jiu-Jitsu, a result of a match or a fight, it's not always going to be the same. It rarely is, actually. You'll find people that you have different results from the same type of a contest. So I've had good days and bad days, but that was just my day for some weird reason. I was the last hope. I don't know. I just had the tiger that one day. I don't know why. That was probably the day. I was the absolute champion, and plus I was not in my own country. It was really cool. And plus it was all the stuff that I kind of people were telling me that I'm going down the wrong path with leg locks, and I said, well, I think I'm going to stick by my gut or my heart. I think there's a reason. So I never really listened to what they were saying. And it all worked. It all worked with this stuff that no one was really doing, and now it's being done. A lot of things. There's a principle I call the door stopper, where my foot's on your hip, you can't turn. If my foot's here, you can turn. No one's doing that. So I put my foot on the far hip, you can't turn. I get your foot now, and now everyone's doing that now. And these closed circuit situations, which means my feet are crossed and you can't roll out. Yeah. I got your leg. No gi, you can't grab my gi now. So leg locks work even better with no gi. And so I'm glad that I took a little step back and looked at things a little objectively and realized I'm glad it worked. Some people don't like how the sport has changed, but it's just reality. I mean, it's hard to deny reality. If things happen, I mean, taxi cab drivers hate Uber. Yeah. But it's reality. Sure. I mean, how are you going to deal with it? Yeah. You can complain, or how about maybe step up your service, But now, I mean, that's got to be a nightmare if you spend all that money to get your taxi cab. That's got to suck. I must say that must suck. But
I got to admit, getting a taxi cab is different now.
Yeah, well, yeah. But imagine if you put in all your work and you spent the hundreds of I don't know how much it costs to get a taxi now with the permits and stuff, and then you got Uber. That's got to suck. Yeah. So I understand things change and it's not always pleasant, but it is reality. And so leg locks. And now people have to learn leg locks. Yeah. Not because of me, but because of people like me.
Sure. Well, I mean, the story that you just told really is you kept following what I guess you'd say your heart or your gut told you. Some people would say, "What's up now? Where are you at today?"
Right now, I came off a successful but difficult shoulder surgery. My shoulder, it happened in Russia. My shoulder just snapped against a very tough guy. I was in Moscow. And it was just an accumulation of damage on my right arm just over my career. Jean-G Ribeiro didn't help. He had my arm. Didn't make my arm better, Over my career, a lot of people attacked my right arm, and it's my bad arm. And in 2007, when I was in the UFC, my bicep snapped. So I had surgery. And since then, my arm's been real bad. So my shoulder snapped in Russia, and finally I got surgery on it. It was my labrum, my rotator cuff, my supraspinatus, my subscapularis. I think those are the names. My upper bicep tendon snapped, so I had all these 5 things done at one time, and my shoulder. It was very serious, but I'm glad I got it done. So now I'm healing. I would hope to get back to competing soon. I would hope so. Eu espero que sim.
Well, we look forward to seeing that, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Start luck on the move. Good to meet you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you like this episode, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just like Nike is to athletes, Moved is to entrepreneurs.
so this is I was already 2011. I won Abu Dhabi again. It was another good year. I faced Rodolfo Vieira and João Assis. So now I have a fight against this guy. He's my friend now, named Roddy Moore. Is that good?
Yeah.
Roddy Moore. It was in Belfast. I fought him at the King's Hall in Belfast, and I arrived, and you hear about the stuff about the IRA and the Protestants, and that's true stuff that happens over there. And so they, a mile from where I was staying, very close to the venue. I mean, the police found a car full of, I don't know, 1,000 pounds of bombs. A bomb, and they defused it. I mean, that's actually a problem over there right now. So that was, I didn't see it, but I'm saying it was in my vicinity. It was in my vicinity. It was whatever. It was not 1,000. Let's say it was a car bomb, and they defused it. And that was on the streets, and that was kind of like people talked about it. It didn't make international news. Well, to me, that was, you think about that. Yeah. I'm walking those streets, So yeah, that happened when I was there, 2012, I believe. Yeah.
Anything that's like that close, you just get like, wait a minute, this is real.
Yeah. I lived in Panama during the invasion. I'm used to that kind of stuff, but as an adult, I haven't seen that for a long time, So it's just cool. Yeah, it's a rough area, but people there are a great time in North Ireland. Yeah, good people. Belfast. Yeah.